Hey there, everyone. Welcome to today's SAG-AFTRA Foundation Conversation at Home. Today's moderator, Scott Mantz, and joining us from the Showtime series in its second season, Black Monday, is Casey Wilson. She plays Tiffany Georgina on the show. Welcome, Casey. How you doing?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm well. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us in our conversation at home. And I got to tell you, Black Monday is so damn funny. It is so friggin' funny. And the ensemble on this show, now in its second season, what's it like being part of a show like this that takes place in the 80s, that is extremely timely, and is so damn funny?
I mean, I love the show, and I think more people are finding it. It's a very hard, funny show, but it has heart, and the ensemble is incredible. I mean, it's Don Cheadle and Regina Hall and Andrew Rannells and, of course, myself, Scott. Okay. And Yasser Lester. It's just a great cast. It's so wild. It's so insane in a great way. And I get to play there's no other way to say it, kind of rich 80s bitch. And it feels so good, so right, and so like me, you know? No, it's so much fun. I love the show so much.
I mean, listen, fun is something that you all look like you're having. I mean, everybody. Yeah. But, it's also because everybody in the ensemble is so spread out. You're not all in the same place at the same time. And you do so much of your work with Andrew. And I got to tell you, especially in the first season, he really got the crap kicked out of him.
He did. And my character, and I'm not making light of it, but I am on the borderline of abusive physically and emotionally. And in every way, I just have some major problems. And it's so much fun to work with him. He's such a joy. And in the first season, we're like, are we in a different show? Because we have a broader style. But I think it all kind of coalesces together. And Regina and Don are like holding down the show in a beautiful way. And we get to, have fun.
It's a really interesting observation because in the scenes, especially in the first season, because both of your characters have gone through such big arcs since the first season when we were stuck in that little apartment. The scenes in the apartment in the beginning, it was like more up there, and you look like you really elevated each other too. How great working with Andrew.
It was amazing. We played twins in this John Hamburg movie, Why Him, with Bryan Cranston and James Franco. So we met playing like deranged twins, and we loved each other there. And I just went to see him in Falsettos on Broadway, even though we kind of had just met. And I was like, I like this guy. And then we just became great friends. And my husband created Black Monday with Jordan Cahan, and he cast Andrew first. And I was like, put me in, coach. I'm ready. And I have done other work outside of just my husband's casting, I feel I need to say.
Oh, by the way, your resume in just the last almost 20 years, like you've stayed so busy. You've been part of shows like Happy Endings and, Gone Girl. You work with David Fincher. What do you look for, and how does that compare to what you were looking for 10 years ago?
That's such a good question. I mean, I went to NYU to Stella Adler for acting, and, I thought in college my job was to like do Chekhov as a profession because they took it so seriously in Shakespeare. And then I got in the business and I realized, whoa, this is, not that. When I did a bloated stomach commercial was my first job. And my stomach was on the side of a bus. Anyway, I just kind of leaned into comedy, and I always loved comedy, and I never really, as much as I loved watching, I was such a huge like Madeline Kahn fan, and I Love Lucy and the Saturday Night Live cast. I knew I loved comedy, but I didn't really know you could do it as a profession if you weren't really like a stand-up. And so long story short, I don't know, I thought I'd be in more dramas, but it's just been the roles that have kind of come to me. And David Fincher is one of the first people that put me in something a little more serious, but of course I play an annoying neighbor, so I can't escape it. But I'm so happy with my career. I would have loved to have been on Broadway, and I still really want to have that experience. I've made it to off-Broadway, Scott, but never on Broadway.
Well, in terms of leaning into the comedy, you've also really leaned into the improv, not just with SNL, but with the Upright Citizens Brigade too. Yeah. So what is it about sort of the comedy that you keep going further and further with it, and you've really embraced the improv too?
Yeah, I don't know. My partner, so I met June Diane Raphael. She's an actress. She's on Grace and Frankie. She's been in a million things. And we were best friends in college since we were 17. And we just thought the other one was funny. So we did a 2-woman show called Rode Hard and Put Away Wet we always wanted to write female characters and the dynamics between women and write parts for ourselves that we weren't, again, my bloated stomach commercial, I wasn't getting the caliber of work. And then the Upright Citizens Brigade transferred the show because we did it at Stella Adler over there. And then we started taking classes, and it all just sort of happened naturally. And I think any actor should take improv classes. Even if you're a dramatic actor, you have even the complete different side of the business, because I think it's such an important skill set. Even if you can't physically say different words, if you have to stick to the script, you're at least kind of receptive to what's going on around you. And it's just really fun, even though it's scary.
But the improv must have come in real handy during the filming of Black Monday. I mean, the first episode was directed by, I think, Seth Rogen. Mm-hmm. So is that something that you really leaned into while filming Black Monday?
Absolutely. I mean, typically I like to just tag scenes, because I think if you have a good comedy, you have great wording. And I like to do physical comedy and just provide little tags rather than totally derail a scene. But I love it. It's just so fun. And I think it feels very authentic, because it is, because whatever you're getting can't help but feel new, because it is. So I think it just brings some energy to a scene when done judiciously.
You said something at the top of the conversation when describing Black Monday. You said it's a hard show. And I think that really nails it, because I was trying to describe Black Monday to a friend of mine. It's it's kind of a satire, and it's in the 80s, but it's not too on the nose. It's not too obvious, but it's in the 80s. But in the things that it deals with, with racial stereotyping and sexual politics at the office. I mean, could the show be any more timely and relevant?
I don't think so. I think it's so timely. And, they just dealt with the prison system and the inequality there. And they made it a musical number, which is palatable, but still making such a powerful message about how differently white prisoners are treated. And then yet the larger framework is a comedy, but I do think they're able to really get in there. And I hate to say messages, because I think when people hear that, they're like, I don't want to watch that. But it's genuinely like a 30 Rock, in the sense of the comedy is so kind of consistent and hard hitting. But I do think they're able to get at something that is so important and timely right now.
Yeah, I think in terms of the ensemble cast, especially with you and Don Cheadle and Regina Hall, I'm seeing a lot of work here that I've never seen from any of these actors anywhere else. Especially, I mean, you and Regina Hall talk about a dream. She's fantastic.
I just got a chill with you saying her name. She's a star, and she's a star. She's a legend. I mean, she can do anything, and she can play emotional moments that make you cry. She can do broad physical comedy. She can do subtle comedy. She's just a beauty. She's a lovely person. She's just a wonderful actress.
And I was at South by Southwest a year ago, and I saw a movie there called Support the Girls.
Yes.
And, it's a comedy, but it's also a drama. And I think a lot of you are dealing with, wearing both hats, especially, Tiffany, she's tough, she's funny, but you still keep her empathetic. You humanize her, which is, I think, hard to do with a character like this. What are the challenges to make you sort of stay on her side?
And there's a lot of challenges. I think what actually humanized her a good bit is that, and this is not a spoiler, but in the second season, my husband, Andrew Rannells, he comes out of the closet, and instead of kind of turning on each other, they actually dig in and lean into the fact that they have a friendship and love there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's not the same time as now. And he has political ambitions, and so does she. She actually is just as hungry and ambitious as him. So they kind of changed their relationship, but she's sad about it. And I think that's a vulnerability there, that she's used to getting what she wants, and she kind of never expected this guy would leave her in romantically.
Yeah, there was that, I think it was the first or second episode when Tiff says, I know this is kind of a sham, but doesn't mean we can't be friends.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, that was
something
nice.
there, a little something. Yeah.
But it's also a lot of broad comedy that you get to do in a show like this, especially in the second season with the naked guy in the bed,
Yeah.
I mean, how do you prep for a scene like that?
You don't. I mean, I'll be honest. Again, my husband created the show, and he says about 5 minutes before, "Oh, the guy that's going to be in bed with you is naked." And I'm like, "What?" There's no prep time, and for your husband to be like, "Get in the bed," it's a wild, wild thing. But the show has made a distinct choice not to do any female nudity, but to do male nudity.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, let's see what we can see here. We've seen enough female nudity. So it's kind of fun. That's another kind of thing that's turned on its head, which I think is fun. But, it certainly was something you just have to kind of plow through in that scene. And just, I was like, where are you from? Just pretending it wasn't happening.
The first season of the show, you're counting down to Black Monday.
Yeah.
And now the second season is sort of the evolution from Wall Street to Fleet Street. Yeah. And it's an interesting transition because I think, and especially in the terms of Tiffany, she becomes more like a Real Housewife.
Yes. I that's so funny you say that, because I was thinking that one day. I'm like, she would be a Real Housewife right now.
Totally.
She's a bit of a like Ivana Trump kind of, a little working girl in there. And I absolutely agree. And I've been trying to think, what is my hair going to be next season if we come back? Because Tiffany's hair is really who she is. And this year I went for kind of a Princess Diana, Nancy Reagan coif.
Well, it was 1988.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
In terms of the humor, I love how it's funny. It's tough. It's hard. It's definitely relevant and timely, but it's also, you kind of make light of things too. You're allowed to laugh at this.
Yeah.
What are the challenges for you and the cast and definitely the producers and showrunners to walk that line?
Yeah. Well, I think Don Cheadle is kind of our guide. He's our number one on the call sheet. It's his show and Regina's and Andrew's, but he kind of is our guide. And a lot of times he's just like, let's do it. And then there are a couple of times he's like, no, I can't say that. No. But he has a big breadth of tolerance. But then David and Jordan are like, okay, Don doesn't like it. All right. We've gone too far. So he's kind of the mediator, but it's definitely got some edge to it. In an episode coming up, my character, this is not a spoiler, but I think it's so amazing. I want a baby. And Andrew Rannells says, if you want a kid, I want to see you practice. You should spend some time around kids. I don't think you're going to like them. So these 3 kids down the hall come to the house. There's a girl and 2 boys, and they beat the shit out of me. They throw me into a coffee table. They destroy the whole house. And then when they leave, their nanny comes to get them, and they just throw money at me. And the nanny says, Ivanka, Donald Jr., Donald, come with me. And it's the Trump kids as little kids. And it is really wild and funny.
It is so wild. Like, there was a joke in the first season. I think Regina Hall said it. And she goes, oh, just get married, settle down. Like look at OJ. He married that blonde woman. I'm so happy for, I went, oh my God. But it was okay to laugh at the levity and the lightness of it. But, in terms of, you said something interesting about how when you were first starting out, you were at Stella Adler Studio, you were doing more dramatic work, and you kind of leaned into the comedy. Like, in terms of over the first few years of the O's, when did you start to feel like, I'm doing it, I'm making it, it's happening? When did you start to feel like that things were looking really, really good?
Not for a bit. I mean, I would say, so June, my partner I mentioned, we did this 2-woman show and we went to Aspen Comedy Festival, and this producer said, I want you guys to write this movie. And we're like, right. We just improv and do sketch. And she said, no, I think you can do it. And the movie ended up being Bride Wars with Kate Hudson and Anne Hathaway. And we wrote it when we were 24. And it's so hard to get a movie made, but at the time we were like, it's easy, like idiots, you know, because it got made, and we since learned how difficult it is. And then I got, in my first part was this Christopher Guest movie, For Your Consideration. And I will say that was the first time when I was like, wow, maybe I will get a part in this business. And I certainly, I mean, I never think like I've made it, you know, but I certainly felt like, okay, I'm getting to do what I love and what I've dreamt of doing. And I've been so lucky to have any part of anything in this business. It's such a hard business, and I feel so fortunate to get to do anything in it, really.
Well, in working on a show like Happy Endings, just like Black Monday, you're part of an ensemble.
Yeah.
So what was so great about Happy Endings, working with that cast, and how did working with that ensemble prepare you for this ensemble on Black Monday?
I love working on an ensemble. There's something nice about it not being on your shoulders, number one, but you're getting to just exploit everyone else's comedic talents and bounce off of them. And I met a kind of comedic soulmate, Adam Pally, on that show, and Damon Wayans Jr., and they're all so great. And it's just so fun. I mean, when we did that, that was all so many of our first jobs. And we didn't even realize what we had at the time, of just how special it was to be kind of young and no one had kids, and we're just like having fun. And I met my husband on that show. And I mean, I really wouldn't even have my kids if I hadn't gotten that job. So that is just the greatest job I've ever had. And I had just been let go from Saturday Night Live. So I was like, I'll never work again. No one will ever cast me again, ever, ever, ever. And then I got that job, and that's this business. Like, just never know. You're down, and then you're up, and then you're right back down.
One door closes, another one opens. Right? It really is like that.
Yeah.
But also, you know, I always felt like Ken Marino is so funny. He's so talented. He's never utilized the way he should be, but you get, you know, working with him again on Happy Endings. I mean, I know, again, because the characters are apart, but, you know, working with him on Marry Me, and now he plays basically two parts.
He plays the Lehman Brothers, both of them.
Yeah.
There is no greater fan of Ken Marino than my husband. He is obsessed with him, as he should be. He just wants Ken in every single thing, in every single role, as he should be. And Ken is just so talented. And it's funny, like, every time you see him, he's just great. And getting to kind of work with him on Marry Me, and we were playing kind of my husband and I, and my husband's just like overjoyed that Ken would be portraying him. So he's the best. He's so talented. He's an amazing director. And I think a lot of comedians wear a lot of hats, and that's fun to work with. It's not like a job for hire for people. A lot of them have like their eye on different things, kind of in an interesting way.
You know, when the first season of Black Monday ended, I thought, how do you top that? How do you keep it going? Because now it's after Black Monday. So what were the challenges for the cast and the writers to not only keep it going, but to maintain the quality of relevancy and laughs on the show moving forward?
I think they really had to find a new engine, and what they've kind of landed on is who is playing who kind of in this. And it's like Regina and Don's characters and Andrew's characters, you don't really know who is, and Paul Scheer's character, you don't really know who's playing who in this. And it was really fun that Regina took over the office. So now there's a woman in charge, and what comes with that. And Don is kind of her, you know, under her now. And I just think the quality actually was raised in some way to have Andrew turn into this like sociopath kind of, I don't even know. I don't know. I mean, I'm not in the writer's room, but I think it was very challenging when you lose like an initial premise and engine. But I do feel like they've created so much, there is like a mystery element to the show.
Well, also you're right, because moving forward, you know, you've passed Black Monday, you know, you're a year past it at least. Moving forward, you're going to keep getting further. So how do you keep reinventing? And that's a challenge of any show.
Maybe Tiff, you know, takes over the firm now. We never know.
Well, because this is an ensemble, and because everyone's spread out, you know, the moments where you do get to work with most of the cast, like last season with the engagement party, and the wedding, you know, dancing to the national anthem. I mean,
oh my gosh. I have to say, my wedding dance with Andrew Reynolds was to the national anthem because it was the end of the season and they'd run out of money for songs. So they said, we don't think you guys will have anything to dance to. And then Andrew goes, what about something from the catalog that's free? And it's all Americana songs. And then we thought, well, Tiff, no one's a greater Republican than Tiff, and we'll want to salute this great country. And so just those are the kind of what I mean of comedians kind of can make, I think, a lot of different things, wear different hats. And so that was such a funny idea.
Over the years, is there a director, actor you work with that you really admired, that really inspired you, someone that you work with who just gave you great advice and it stayed with you?
I mean, I think 3. Certainly David Fincher was so generous to me. And I think, he does a lot of takes, which is what people know, but he's also just so exacting in a beautiful way and so supportive, though, of you the entire time. And he was just so supportive of me and kind of let me do my thing a bit, and I loved him so much. And I worked with Nora Ephron on Julie and Julia, and she also cast me in an off-Broadway show I did. And she was just the greatest and so generous with her time and took me out and just a generous person. And then on Black Monday, there's a director that I hadn't worked with, Tiffany Johnson. And she also has done a bunch of episodes on this BET show called The 20s, Lena Waithe's show. Mm-hmm. And she did 2 of our episodes, and she is just dynamite. And a lot of directors, and I say this with love, especially TV directors, they're kind of coming in an awkward position where you do the character and they're kind of suddenly taking over, but they're not as in the fabric of the work and the characters, which is not their fault at all. But I really felt Tiffany Johnson got in there and gave me ideas and bits and comedic bits. It's so hard to go up with comedy. To have someone giving you ideas is just invaluable. And her episodes turned out so great.
When you're working with a director who's an actor, like Seth Rogen, especially on the first episode, because the first episode sets the stage for everything. Yeah. How does that help you as an actor?
Well, obviously, I was just so excited to work with Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. I mean, that was a dream. And they, too, just have so many lines they throw at you and just so much fun. And they know what's funny. They know what a dynamic shot looks like. They're just hilarious people, and they work so hard that they just have it. I don't even know what to say, but it was thrilling, truly thrilling.
Yeah, I got to ask, over your left shoulder, there's a framed bullseye.
Yeah.
What is that?
That is my life. No, I'm kidding. It's just a picture of a kind of, I don't know. My dad gave me that. Just an old fashioned bullseye that he had framed, or he probably brought at a yard sale, to be honest.
I just had to ask. I'm like, why should have a bullseye in the back?
You know what? That's me. That's me.
Before we go, I just, these are challenging times, and they're challenging anyway for an actor in this profession, but they're even more challenging now. So is there any advice you can give to actors watching?
Yes. I mean, first of all, it's so challenging, and I think it's hard to, keep faith. Everyone knows that just in any actor's time, there's, dry spells and you want things, but especially this time, it's very hard to act alone. I mean, but the advice I always find solace in and something to do is to write, and just write something for yourself even. And you just never know. You probably, I would bet everyone has a voice we want to hear from. And I just always find writing a part, whether it goes anywhere or it doesn't, is something to kind of do that's creative that you can do on your own. And you just never know where things will take you, and we need new voices. So I don't know. I turn to writing. Even if you're like, oh, I'm not going to be good. It's just try and see.
Writing is great. Writing is very cathartic. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Casey Wilson, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I'm going to put you right here on the bullseye as an interviewer.
Yes. All right.
Yes.
Season 2 of Black Monday is on Showtime right now. Watch it. Binge the whole thing. Trust me, it is a totally bingeable show. And for everyone watching, please check out our comments section below to see how you can qualify for COVID-19 relief. The SAG-AFTRA Foundation COVID-19 Fund is here to help you. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a great day.
Thank you.